Alright, so today we're going to be continuing to work on the 2-speed off-road go-kart. So now that we've taken this thing off-roading twice, let's be honest, this is definitely not the most perfect off-roading go-kart. It definitely has its issues. It is overweight, underpowered, and the suspension just doesn't work that well. It needs a diet, needs an engine change, and it needs to have some suspension work done to this. So the diet's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm not really sure what I can do to take some weight off of this thing. The engine change is also going to be a little bit tricky. I just bought today a brand new 670 Predator engine. We're going to be replacing the 420 Predator engine that is on here now with the 670. Hopefully this will give it the amount of power that it needs to get up hills. And we're also going to be playing around with the suspension. We're going to be giving the rear suspension semi-independent rear suspension. So basically the rear swing arm with the engine attached is going to be able to move side to side as well as up and down. So hopefully that will make it to where it rides a little bit better. Hopefully the engine change is going to make it to where it moves up hills a lot easier. And hopefully the diet is going to make it to where the frame just doesn't weigh as much as it does. So first thing we need to do is let's open up this box and see if this new engine will even fit in this frame. So I'm looking at it, and it looks like this will fit. It's definitely going to be a tight fit. I may need to move the seat forward or bump this bar a little bit back. That wouldn't be the end of the world, or move the gas tank up, or probably need to get rid of this ammo box. That's probably going to be in the way. But it looks like it will fit, which is awesome. I don't have to do too much modification to this. But yeah, let's take the 420 off, and I'll show you some problems that I've been having with this engine. Alright, now I've actually been having some issues with this engine a couple days after collaborating with Redbeard and Quad Racers. I was running this engine, trying to see if I can get it to run a little bit better, and I was honestly over-revving the engine, and this happened. No, it did not break in half and cause havoc inside the cylinder. It merely bent real bad and completely lost compression, and after a couple minutes of trying to figure out why it wouldn't start up, I found out it had no compression and air was being sucked in and out of the exhaust. So took it apart and found out that yes, the exhaust valve is bent real bad. Tried to bend it back, and that's when it snapped in half. Now this is why you always want to put bigger valve springs on these engines so you don't run into these problems. That I didn't do that, unfortunately, and now I'm paying the price. I did put a different exhaust valve in here. I found one online that kind of worked. It was a similar size, but it wasn't the right size retaining clip groove. It did fit in there, and the retaining clip did kind of hold it in there. But a couple days ago, my friend was driving this, and same thing happened. Just lost compression and completely died. Wouldn't start back up again. I can now turn it over completely easily by hand. I can feel air being sucked in and out of the exhaust. So same thing, something happened to the exhaust valve to where it's just either stuck open or it bent again. I have no idea. So this is definitely not the end of this engine. I definitely want to still fix it up and mod this out and put it on something else. I just want to see what a 670 will do on this frame. So before we take the 670 and put it on the frame, let's first play around with the suspension and see if we can give this suspension semi-independent suspension. probably have to ground it out. There we go. Alright, so now that we have everything semi on here, I'm trying to figure out the suspension part of this. Now, I still haven't made the cross member, the connecting rod, whatever you want to call it, just to keep it from doing this, but I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm focusing on the suspension part of this, because the original suspension was super stiff, and now I made it even more complicated with making this semi-independent suspension. The original anchoring point, or pivot point for the rear swing arm was right here. I now moved it way up here, so now the suspension is even more stiff than it was. So I'm trying to figure out how to soften the suspension. So I moved the anchoring point of the bottom shock even further up right here. Originally it was right here. I moved it up here as much as I can, move it forward with these shocks, and still the suspension is really stiff. I mean, even if I jump on the very back of here, it kind of works, but still, my whole weight is not going to be on the very back of here. My whole weight is going to be right here, and while the suspension does work right here, it's still too stiff for what I like. So let's put the engine on to see if the engine will even fit, and to see if the engine's weight will hopefully soften up the suspension. Oh. Alright, so we finally got the engine in here just like I thought. These shocks are just way too strong for this setup. There's no position I can place them in. There's no way I can do this with these shocks to where the suspension will be any softer. So with this engine on here, I can put, like, it takes all my weight to jump up and down to move the suspension. So the suspension is just way too stiff for what I want, and I can't do anything to change it with these shocks. So I'm gonna have to get smaller shocks from Go Power Sports and make those work. So next thing we need to do is we need to take that we need to make that connecting rod, tie rod, connecting link, whatever you want to call it, that part that, you know, keeps the frame from doing that. That's what we need to do next. So the suspension, it works, but unfortunately the shocks that I have on here are way too strong to allow the suspension to move properly. So therefore I need to get some other smaller shocks from Go Power Sports, and so therefore the suspension will work a lot better and be a lot more soft. So unfortunately I'm going to end the video here just because I need to get more parts for this thing to continue working. Smaller shocks. Go Power Sports is giving me their bigger torque converter. I have a 40 series, but I don't want to put that on. They are giving me their bigger size. I forget which one that's called, but their bigger size torque converter. They're giving me one for to put on this engine, so I need to wait for that. The other reason I'm ending the video here is because I may be going out of town for work again within like 5 days. And I have no idea how long I'm gonna be out of town. It may be like Danbury again, where I'm out of town for a month. So I'm trying to stockpile as many videos as I can so I can at least still upload stuff while I'm out of town. I at least have like 5 video ideas that I can record and upload. I just have no idea how many I can get done within 5 days. So considering this took me 3 days and this is just one video, I'm not really sure how much I can get done. So that's why I'm kind of cutting this video a little short. Once I get back into town, we're going to finish this thing and get it running, get it driving hopefully. But yeah, unfortunately I got to end the video here just to allow me to start on the other 5 videos that I want to start. So now I have to thank Go Power Sports for sending me all the parts I use for this project, almost everything you see here. I'll be leaving links to all this stuff in the description below. Go check all that out. But I gotta end the video here. Follow me on Instagram. I have a link in the description below to that. But yeah, I gotta end the video here. I know I keep saying that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe and have a nice day.